So I'm here today with George, and George is one of my good friends and he helps us out with a lot of our PSA submissions. So I've done a little video explaining about PSA submissions, but I just wanted to go into a bit more depth with George to explain the sort of process that we go through when we're looking at what cards we would select to send off, what we look at from a card in terms of conditions and what grades it could get, and why we send to where we send, basically. So first of all, we've been through a few cards today and I'll show you a handful of a few. What we usually look for is popular Pokemon, chase cards from sets, and cards what people like to collect. The ones that we find that we like, we then pick a few out. So as an example, these are a few that we have selected this time to send off to PSA, and some of them are from my personal collection, some of them are for the shop, and I'm going to pass you over to George and he's going to explain roughly what we look for or how we select the cards we select to go to PSA. So if you want to have a little chat, George, and let everyone know.
Yeah, so
there you go.
Most people grade to enhance the value of the card or protect it. So some people like to just choose Pokemon that they like and go for that. Some people like to get the chase cards from each set. So that one, for example, is a big card, worth a lot of money. This Venusaur, again, same sort of thing. And so for the guys in the shop, I know obviously they're a shop, they want to sell cards. They want cards that are gonna be valuable, that people are going to want. I mean, there's no point just grading any old rubbish just for the sake of it, because you're wasting your time and money, really. But if you've got a card that you really like that's not worth anything, grade it. If you want it for a graded, then you grade it. I'm not saying don't, but from their point of view, they're a business. That's what they're there for. So
in terms of what we're looking for, George, in a card, so talk me through your process of what you would look at in a card, and we're looking for a PSA 10. So like this card is an example. What would your process be in discovering whether you think it's got a chance? Because we can't guarantee a grade, but we have got a rough idea and we know stuff that does have a chance.
Yeah. It's first of all, you need good light. So this is quite dark in here. It's not really ideal for it, but we've looked at them under the good lights in the shop and had a good look through them. But you need good light. Some people like to use a magnifying glass to get really close up. I've got laser eyes, so I can just sort of tell. So the first thing we do is look at the front of the card and check the centering of the border. So you can see this one here. It's a little further from the bottom compared to the top. It's generally a lot easier to see on cards that have a border, like this one. You can see all the way around, it's pretty even. There's not anything that sticks out too much. You can see on the back as well, it's the same. So that's...
I'll just show the camera a little bit, just in case it was a bit further away. So this gold border, as you can see, so what we're looking for is it's the same sort of length the whole way around, not like one side bigger than the other, and then that means that the centering's good, or at least close. We do know that the PSA does have a leniency of 60-40, which is a little bit hazy across the lines, but we do know that sometimes they don't have to be perfectly centered, they just have to be close.
Yeah, and I think 60-40 is sometimes generous.
It can be. We've seen some come back very crazy.
This one, you can see, is a little closer to the top, the black lines, compared to the bottom there. So that would be slightly off-centered. But would it affect the grade that much? It may do, but we'll see.
Yeah. So next step?
So then you need to check the surface to make sure there's no bits of the foil missing. There's no dints, scratches, marks across it. These full art ones, they're always quite hard to tell. Whereas, hang on, there was one here a second ago that we had. Sorry, very professional, not set up ready. Don't know where it's gone now. Must be one of these ones. So this Groudon, for example, you can see it's all hollow, but it's a flat surface. It's much easier to see if there's a scratch or a print line, something like that.
Okay.
Whereas the textured ones, they're quite hard. It's best to sort of lay the card flat, look along it. You can get it to glint in the light. It really just helps to see if there's anything missing from it, really.
Great stuff, yeah.
So the fronts, I don't know if we have one. We'll use this one again as an example. So hollow cards like these, the whole of the face is holographic underneath this dark green here. So you might be able to see sometimes that there's, if you can see spots of hollow through quite clearly, quite bright, like it is on the picture, it generally means that the surface layer is missing, it's damaged. So that would be something to look out for on these sort of cards. It's quite obvious as well if you see it. But that's another thing to look out for on the front of those. So we've seen it's a little off-centered, and the surface looks pretty good. There's nothing stand out there. So then the back, and now the back is it's pretty easy to see what's going on with it, really.
Any defects or out of line, stuff like that. Especially with, on the back of the Pokemon card, there is a predominant border.
Yeah.
Some of the front of the cards don't always have the predominant border, so that's a good indication on the back, right?
100%, yeah. It's really obvious with the dark border. You can get tools, centering tools that you place over the card, or you place them over the card, and it sort of says where it should be for perfect centering and where it should be for 60-40 or worse, basically. I personally don't have one. I've seen enough cards to know when it's off center, but for when you're starting out, they can be really useful if you want to get
a lot of it comes with experience, right?
Exactly.
We've done this process quite a few times now. George has looked at a lot of cards, so along the way we've picked up a few skills where we can detect when we've took chances in the past. If we see a card that's very similar, we know what the result was, so we can gauge roughly, and that's how we've picked up the experience over the last few years.
That's it. I think between us, we've probably graded thousands of cards.
Yeah.
And so once you've looked over that many, you start to get an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So going on from there, we're looking at corners, right?
That's it. Corners and edges. So you can see this one is nice and clean. There's no whitening around the bottom. There's no whitening in the corners. Sometimes you can see it's really obvious. There might be a big chip taken out or a little bit of silvering, particularly with the older hollow cards. I don't know if we've got an example of one here. This Starmie, and sometimes with these, the borders around the sides, particularly on the front, occasionally on the back, you can see the silver hollow coming through, and they're not particularly strict on it, particularly with the older cards, but it's just something to look out for. If it's really bad, then they probably would. This is an example. You can see here on this Starmie in the top corner there, you can see some small whitening there. So this wouldn't be.
I'll just put that closer just in case the camera didn't pick it up. But, there you go. So you may be able to see some of the whitening. I think this card has also got a small crease in it, if I remember rightly.
That's right. So we're looking. Another thing to look out for, I suppose it could be front or back really, is a crease. Any creases will automatically knock your card down to a 6.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Okay.
No question. It is the worst thing really you can have for them. So unfortunately this one does have a small crease in one corner, and they're not always obvious. You need to get the right light. You'll see shadow, you'll see holding them flat, you can cast your eye across them and just see where it falls.
Well, I'd like to say a little touch on this as well, because there may be some people out there that have graded cards in the past, and I know from my experience and through talking to people in the shop that some people send cards off and they're like, this card came back a 6 or an 8 and I have no idea why it looks perfect, and this is a perfect example of that. So like George said, in certain lights sometimes you can see just bent defects or dints or just something that you don't see very easily with the naked eye. So when you're looking at a card, it may look like a 10, but when you get it under a good lighting, you can see a defect, and that's maybe where a lot of people don't understand that there is so many details to this grading system that, if something's just wrong along the way, then they downgrade you a few times, don't they? So.
Yeah, that's right. And it can seem really harsh. I've done it in the past. I've missed a tiny crease in one corner and it's come back a 6, and there's no whitening, there's no hollow scratching, it's perfect card, and you just you lose your mind over why. And then when it's in that case, you can't see it.
It makes it more difficult to see, doesn't it?
And you look at it and you're going, oh, there's nothing there, but there obviously is. So there's no creases, there's no whitening, perfect so far. Look over the surface. Are there scratches? Are there mucky marks? Bits missing? Sometimes you'll see a bit of a black spot there, and you might go, oh, and you can wipe them off sometimes.
Just be careful.
Do it with your finger, not with your nail. But so make sure it's clean. Make sure there's no scratches, and print lines. Now, some of you may not have experienced print lines, you might not know what they are, but they're just defects in the printing process, and it appears as a line across or down the card, and they're always perfectly straight all the way across. It's part of the printing, there's nothing you can do about it. These newer illustration rare cards are notorious for it in the holo. Some of them just I think this is the first Groudon I've seen that hasn't got
a print line.
Loads of print lines across it. I've got a couple at home and they're just across and down.
I've seen crossword puzzles with literal lines
like
left and right, like a checkerboard. I have a Squirtle very similar that looks like it's got, you can play noughts and crosses on it. And like George said, that's just from the printing process. It comes off the press like that. There's nothing you can do for that, unfortunately. Even though it's packed fresh, it's just something that defected at the factory, and there's nothing we can do about that. But they do downgrade that because obviously it's not a perfect card.
And that's where it's frustrating for a lot of people, because they say, well, it's straight out the packet, I haven't done anything to it, I haven't damaged this card, but it's come back as an 8 or a 9,
and that's kind of part of the fun, and that's why what makes some of these cards rarer, right? Because there is certain sets and certain cards out there that just came out the packet really bad, and it's tough to pull the card already, and then the printing on them was terrible. So that's why you maybe find sometimes certain 10s are way more expensive because of that, and the population at PSA of the PSA 10s are a lot lower because unfortunately the printing service was not very good on them. Evolutions is a very good example of that, right? Evolutions
Charizard's chances are it's an 8 before you even send it. It's just the way it is. But and again, that's where they are really valuable in the 10, because it's so hard to get one because the printing process was so bad. The cuts on them are terrible, the scratching, the off-centeredness, the print lines, the whole thing is just a bit of a mess. But that's, if you can find that gold nugget, you're laughing.
That is why we do this. It's fun, it's exciting, and it can add value to your cards, and it's great for collectors just to keep stuff protected. We all have them in binders, we all have everything is protected as we can, but you just can't get any better than that slab. Plus they're really good to display when they're in a graded slab. So
that's the big one for me, just the display. I've got some cards that I knew weren't 10s, I knew weren't even 8s, but I wanted them out. They're my favourite cards. I want to be able to look at them and enjoy them, and I got them graded, and it's another reason I do it.
I love it. I have a lot on a shelf at home. So when I'm sat watching TV, it's just on a shelf above my TV, and I can see them all the time. And I feel like when you, especially that 10, because you go through this process and you go through that whole heartache of will it be, won't it be, the nerves. When you get it, that elation that you get for the 10 when you unveil it is just so good that every time I look up on my shelf and I see those cards, I remember that story, when I pulled it, the process of grading it, and that feeling of elation that I got when I opened it back up from the PSA. And that's what I like when I've displayed my cards.
That's huge, isn't it? The story behind it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know a lot of yours have got a good story behind them, and it's great.
Yeah, my personal ones do,
yeah.
but this is what I like about the shop, and that's what the opportunity that the shop gives us is we're now building those stories with some of you customers of ours. We did one yesterday, depending on when you're watching this video, it won't have been yesterday, but we gave a pack to a guy, Ben. You may have already seen the video on Instagram. He pulled out a Carmine Art Rare, sent it off to a PSA with us, got a 10, and the video, the reaction was incredible, and that's now a story with him from us as a gift. He's now got that. That was his first graded card in his collection as a 10.
You should stop now, shouldn't he?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a great video to go and watch though. His reaction was just excellent.
Yeah,
really was.
He has a few from us actually. He's also his strike rate at Lookbox is incredible actually because he's won 3 from 3 in our Find the Charizards. So he's had 3 goes on Find the Charizard and won 3 slabs. So yeah, this guy's luck is incredible at Lookbox.
It's not called Lookbox for any other reason, is it?
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's what we're doing this for. So now I would like to let everybody know, if you haven't seen already, we do now grade from Lookbox. So if you're watching this video, we do offer a grading service. All the details will be in another post, or feel free to drop us a message. So we now grade cards through middlemen to PSA, and with a little bit of help of George, thank you mate, we will be sending off submissions. So if you've got cards in your collections, or if you're pulling something lately and you want to send it off to grade and get it in that capsulation, then we can offer that service to you now.
Definitely.
So,
and I think as well, even if you just want to get an idea of you want to come down and see us and see what we're looking for, what you think, if you've got a handful of cards and you think, oh, I want to send these off but I'm not sure, we can have a look through them, see, give you a rough idea of what they'll do. And
absolutely.
And see, you know,
a lot of people come just to have a pre-grade, as other people call it. We don't. We just look at it. We'll give you a rough idea, give you our opinion. That doesn't mean it will guarantee that grade, but we can steer you in the right direction of where we think you should go, or what works for you. Because like George has already alluded to, sometimes not everybody's grading for value. Sometimes it's just for your personal collection. It might have been a childhood card you just want putting in a slab. You don't care about the grade. That's great. We can offer you that service now. So I'm happy to announce that one. But I also want to do, just before we leave, I want to give a shout out to George. So George runs his own YouTube channel. If you want to give them a quick 2 seconds about your YouTube channel, I'll put a link up somewhere so you can see. And he does a pack a day, so he opens up a booster pack every single day.
I've been slacking recently, to be honest. Yeah, I haven't done any for a couple of weeks now actually.
Oh, okay.
So I've let you all down already before we even started. Yeah, Pallet Town Limited. Go and check it out. Have a look on the Instagram as well. Just like Pokemon, like Magic as well. Magic the Gathering. So if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you like Magic the Gathering, we don't offer that service at the moment. George does. So
give us a shout. Loads of cards on Card Market, and I like to do the PSA. The PSA stuff's what really gets me. So I've got videos on there of send-offs before they go. We've got one coming back next week, hopefully. Yeah, fingers crossed. We just had one yesterday. Yeah, again, depending on when you're watching this. One next week, 2 in a week. That's pretty unheard of. But yeah, that's what we're doing. And so you'll see some grade reveal videos, and I do a little bit, sort of not quite like this, but just showing off the cards that we're sending, what we think they're going to get, where they've come from, if there's a story behind them, and it's just nice to keep a little track and a little record of it. Yeah, it's just more content for you guys, a bit more we can give back in value for you to just enjoy, consume that content. So thank you for having me on, Mike. Appreciate it. No worries, George. Good luck. Thanks for giving me a little shout out as well. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I just come down to help you guys out. But you help us out. Thank you. And so go give George a follow. And if you want to see this submission that we've just showed a little bit of here, I will do a little bit better of video showing off what we're going to send, and then obviously follow the journey. We're looking at roughly 6 weeks at the moment for a send off to come back. So in 6 weeks' time, I'll do another reveal, and you can see what we think these got graded. I'll probably do the same. Yeah. Yep. So if you want to see them twice, you know where to go. But can't wait to get them back, and I'm pretty pretty excited for this one. The big Magikarp as well.
Yeah,
Let's go in, we haven't mentioned.
Just another one we haven't mentioned. This is a PG10 Magikarp Warlord, a huge card. What we intend to do with this card is crack it out of the grading card slab, and we're going to PSA submit it. So we're hoping that we can cross grade it to a 10 in the PSA slab, which will change the value and the desirability, because we found that there is a few graded companies that just don't hold value and people just don't want them. They're great to get your submissions and your cards encapsulated to keep them protected, but unfortunately they don't give you the value. So we are going to try cross it over, more for the content, because that's a fun story. If we do, if we don't, it is what it is. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that journey too.
Yeah, PSA, CGC, Beckett, the big names, they are the ones trusted, tried, hold the value. Everyone knows them. Everyone knows those names.
Yeah.
Ace now in the UK as well.
Yeah, I love
Get
Ace.
a big
I
name.
really do love Ace.
You love the Ace labels, don't you?
I do.
And so any of those, if you're looking to send them off yourself, I would recommend sticking to the big four, we'll call them.
Yeah.
The Elite Four.
Yeah, the Elite Four, very fitting.
And stick to those. But if you want PSA, come down to Luckbox to see Mike, and he'll sort you out.
Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.